successful today because the ultimate goal is to convert every subtraction problem back into an addition problem. So our first rule is to copy the problem down. If it's written vertically, I like to write it horizontally so I can see all of the signs and symbols a little more clearly. The rule for the first step in subtraction is to keep the first number the same. So if it's a positive number, I'm going to keep it a positive number. If it's a negative number, I'm going to keep it a negative number. The next step would be to change the subtraction symbol to an addition symbol. And when I do that, I like to say BAM. The next step is to switch the sign of the second number to its opposite. When I do this, I like to say BAM. So therefore, I'm saying BAM, BAM on the two crucial steps to convert. Now, it's very important that we always change the sign of the second number. If it's a positive, it becomes a negative. If it's a negative, it becomes a positive. Now, what we've essentially done is we've taken it and we've converted it back into an addition problem. So we never actually subtract when we subtract integers. We convert it back into an addition problem and follow our rules for addition. So I would come back over and look at my rules from our previous lesson and ask myself that all-important question, do they have the same sign? So now I'm going to show you 3 examples, and we'll go through each of these, following our steps for converting to an addition problem, and then following our rules for addition. So my first step is I'm going to take 17 minus negative 5 and rewrite it horizontally. 17 minus negative 5. Now, following our steps, I'm going to keep the first number the same. I'm going to change the subtraction symbol to an addition symbol. And I'm going to change the sign of the second number. Since it's a negative, now it becomes a positive. Bam, bam. Another way to remember it, I like to tell students, is to keep it, change it, opposite. So I kept the first number, I changed it from a subtraction to addition, and I changed it to its opposite. Now that I have it as an addition problem, I go back and follow my rules. I ask myself, do they have the same sign? Yes, they do. And since they do, all I'm going to do is add and keep the sign. 17 plus 5 is 22, and I'm finished. Now, in my second example, I have negative 16 minus a negative 8. So now, following my steps, my first number stays the same. Since it's a negative, it stays a negative. My subtraction symbol switches from subtraction to addition, bam. And my negative 8 changes to a positive 8, bam. So I have kept it, changed it to its opposite. Now I've got it back to an addition problem. I want to follow my rules. I ask myself, do they have the same sign? In this case, I have a negative and a positive. They do not have the same sign. When they do not have the same sign, I follow my rules from the previous lesson, and I would subtract these two numbers. I take 16, I pull 8 away from it, I end up with 8. Now my last step is I have to go back and keep the sign of the bigger number. In this case, my bigger number was a negative number, therefore my answer is a negative. In our last example, I have a negative 23, and I'm going to pull away a positive 7 from it. So, keeping with our rules, I'm going to keep it, change it to its opposite. So a positive 7 becomes a negative 7. So I have a negative 23 plus a negative 7. I go back to my rules. I ask myself, do they have the same sign? In this case, they do have the same sign, a negative and a negative. Since they have the same sign, all I'm going to do is add them up. 23 plus 7 is 30, and I keep the sign. So as a review, if you had success in adding integers, this lesson will be very similar in that we are actually taking any subtraction problem that involves positive and negatives, and we are converting them back into an addition problem. So as long as we follow our steps and we stay organized with our work, showing our work, you should have success with this lesson.